All right. Good evening, everyone. We'll be right back after this short message. I always feel like a movie star there. Hey, good evening, guys. Hey, I'm so excited. Everybody knows me the way I get with this, but tonight, again, look at that. See, meet the author, Mr. Andre Young, and we are excited tonight. And I also have one of my friends and colleagues, Stephen Farrell, up in Northern Utah jobs, filling in for Raquel tonight.
I know I'm not quite like Raquel and I don't look as good as her, but you're going to have to do with this tonight. I'm sorry.
All right, Andre, before we get started, I got to ask you one question. I'm going to put a picture up on this screen. I just want to know, is it real? That's it. Let's see. We're going to do it right here. I just had to do this before we started the show. I was just like, you know what, David? Sometimes you got to do things crazy. Is this real? Hamilton? Is Hamilton real?
Hamilton is real. Somebody said on, was it LinkedIn or Facebook, great green screen. And I'm like, believe me, this is not something I lie about. We have a pet pig. That is my boy right there. He is 3 years old, tipping the scales at about 200 pounds, wearing all pink. That's my guy.
Wow. I saw that and I told Steve, I said, look at this. I wonder if it's real. I was like, holy crow.
Who has a pet pig? I've never seen that before.
Shortest story ever. My kids wanted a dog, and I knew what that would mean for me and my leadership in my home. I would be doing all of the walking and all of the everything. And my wife said, let's get a pet pig. And I said, who does that? And she mentioned, hey, it's hypoallergenic. I said, check. Potty trainable? Check. Doesn't bark when the doorbell rings? Check. So we fell through. We did it, and it's been great. He's a great guy for the fam.
How do you potty train a pig? I've never heard that before.
Well, he has he's a house pig, so he has pads that he goes to. He knows where to go. He knows the routine, and it's really very easy. Wasn't easy training, but it's all good now.
Oh, look who decides to say hi. Hi, Raquel. Well, there she is. So
I'm keeping your seat warm, Raquel. Thank you.
There she goes. All right. Andre, if you want to introduce yourself, because I have you going on a couple different streams tonight. And, I'm excited, first of all, because December 8th, everybody, well, that's when it comes out in the book, pre-order on Amazon. And you want to talk about it, and here we go.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me back on the show. It was a pleasure doing it before, and I'm so happy to be back. Guys, I'm Andre Young. I'm a professional speaker, author, leadership trainer, and founder of You Evolving Now. And it's an honor to get to do what I do for a living, enhancing leadership and work-life harmony for organizations, leaders, employees, and teams. And my newest book, 7 Ways to Lead, is coming out December 8th. It's available for pre-order now. And it really walks everyone through the steps professionally and personally on how to enhance leadership in your life, from being a newcomer to leadership, getting our gratitude right, doing the daily leadership things, what to do after success, and then being able to speak everyone's language within your organization or on your team. So you're always leading with their ear and their motivation. So I'm excited for it. I can't wait for it to come out and be at everybody's doorstep.
Well, I had one question I was going to let Steve want to ask after this is, in part of your book, A Leader's Preparation, what got me, I was reading about it is, and it happened to me, is when you become a new leader, you're at your workplace, you get promoted, and now you're everybody's boss. And could you go over, what you wrote about that?
Well, A Leader's Preparation, there's a chapter in this section, and it's called Getting Over Our Insecurities. I can't tell you, when I was an employee, you thought that every leader knew exactly what they were doing. So many employees think that all of the leaders have all of the answers, need to be perfect, must be perfect. And when I started doing this for a living, it surprised me how many leaders were unsure, unclear, insecure about different things. Maybe they just got promoted. And too many times, to be very honest, a lot of times people want the promotion because the money and the title that comes with it. Maybe they don't even like the job so much. But it's hard to go home and say, honey, I'm not going to take this more money, this new opportunity, and our idea of success.
Yep.
So I say all that to say we have to know how to manage the promotion and the job, not just get it. We all know how to get promotions. You do one thing good enough or outlast the knuckleheads, you'll get promoted.
That's true. That's true. He's right. He's right.
Oh, it's so true.
Well, once you get the promotion, it's very important to then know, okay, number one, because you can be promoted and now leading your friends, your coworkers. Roles have changed. Feelings have changed. Maybe policies have changed that you can't hang out anymore. So the first thing we have to do is know what the organization is paying us to do. What's your job now? When I was promoted, I wanted to hang on and I fought to keep parts of my old job, only to burn me out come 5 years later because now they expect me to still do those things. That's grown. And along with the other roles that I play and responsibilities. And now I'm sitting there burnt out, but I did it to myself 5 years ago. I just didn't know it. So know what you're getting paid to do. Then know what to give up. It's not your job to be in the weeds all the time with your team. Know what to give up. And then after that, know the superpowers of your people. So you now know what to give and delegate and who to give it to. And then lastly, we have to be able to connect. Connecting now with people on your level professionally and beyond, so you can have those connections and be now in this new world, getting new information, getting some new feedback on how to do it. Because people made some mistakes before. You don't have to make it over again. Maybe you can learn from them.
Well, what would you tell a leader in that just taking over and people start to give you problems? And that's happened to me. But what kind of suggestions would you say to that?
My suggestion is to be very transparent. I call it the reveal. And I phrase it hurt leadership. And I break down for organizations and teams and leaders the H, the U, the R, and the T. The R part I'll focus on now for time, and it's revealing. Right. And when we come in, whether you do this one-on-one with your people or as a group, I prefer both. Hey, I'm new to this. Reveal that I'm new to this, or I'm new to this organization. There's things that I do great. There's things that I do good, and there's things that I need to learn. And I want to be able to all do this together moving forward. And I preface, I'm big on the world's best preface statement. Okay. And it sounds like this. Guys, I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to get to know every single person, and we're going to have some great times, and we'll be sure to celebrate them all. We're also going to have some tough times, and you're going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. And at some point, I might have to have a conversation with you that's going to be hard to have, hard for you to hear, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't. Is that going to be okay? So I've set expectations that I'm new. I've set expectations that I'm here because I have earned being here, but I'm also human. And you are too. And we're going to celebrate and have tough conversations. So we set it up. So when it happens, whether it's tomorrow or 3 days from now or 3 months from now, it's not a shock. It's not a shock. And being able to have those one-on-ones and say, hey, to your people, I want to get to know you. And this is how our one-on-ones are set up. I teach a structure to have it. But what do you like about being here? And what would you fine tune? What did you like about your prior leadership? What didn't you like?
Yeah.
Let's have some honest conversation so I know who I'm working with, and what I do well and how we mesh. And so that's the two big things that I would do.
All right.
Andre.
Amy saying, I get inspired every time I hear you speak. Can't wait for the new book.
Amy, thank you so much.
Yes. Steve, I know you've got a couple questions.
Andre, it's a pleasure meeting you here today. And I am someone that can fully appreciate what you're saying because I have done everything that a leader shouldn't do in my career. I have learned the hard way. And when I say hard, I mean lost jobs, lost relationships, lost really good people that I should have never lost, in my career. And I really like when you mention leaders are unsure, they're unprepared when they're put in these roles. And I have felt that in every single leadership role I've ever been placed in. Like, who am I? How did I get in this role? I worked for the promotion, worked my butt off, and then I'm there, and I have that aha moment, like, wow, I am completely unprepared. And I always remember a mentor of mine told me that, leaders, nobody's born a natural leader. Like, leadership is a set of skills, right? These are skills that can be taught, that you can learn. And if you're willing to do the hard work, if you're willing to go through make the mistakes that I've made, you can become a better leader. And I don't think I'll ever say I'm a good leader, but I know every day I'm learning from the things that I do well, and I improve those, and the things that I'm not doing so well, I work on those, and it's helped me. But the big reveal that you mentioned, the hurt leadership, I really like that. Looking back as a new leader, when you come into a new plant or a new facility or a new store, a new business that you're consulting, and you have to have a little self-reflection. You, as a business unit, right? You've got to look back to move forward. What are those pain points? And what past leaders, where did we go wrong? Right. And now let's develop a plan to move forward. And you're right. I don't know everything. You're going to find some of the best advice on how to move forward from the people that are boots on the ground.
Right.
And you build that trust with them, and it's going to pay dividends for years. But if you go in and just start cutting and slicing and dicing, you're not going to build that trust. So those are some of the hard lessons I've learned.
Andre, how do you bring into a group what he was just saying? Would you bring that into a group of a team, or would you break it off?
Well, I would do both. So one, I start with, I want to say something to everybody first. I want to get the group, and if I can, time-wise, when it allows, I prefer to say it in front of everybody first and set a preface and precedent. I'm going to be meeting with everyone. I'm going to meet everyone one-on-one because I want to get to know you. I want to get you to know me. And I also want you to we all need to have an understanding of our vision. So one, I'm going to do it as a group. Preface it that we're going to be meeting one-on-one, so it's an expectation, so they don't feel like they're getting called into the principal's office because now I'm saying, hey, I'd like to see you, because a lot of times that may have never happened.
Yeah.
So typically when the boss or the bigger people come around, they're like, oh, what did I do? I want to be able to erase that on my team and in the organization. And then what we talked about last show, the leaders 3. Yeah. So the leaders 3 for an organization is, okay, what's the vision, that mission? What's the vision? And then the 3 to 5 things that when you do them consistently, not just when you're motivated, not just when it's projects end, the 3 to 5 things you do them consistently, the dream has to happen. Okay. So number 1, number 2 of the leaders 3 is the expectations. What are the expectations for your team? So what expectations do you have for your people, for the product, whatever it is? And then what are the rules? So the organization as a whole, I hope, has theirs. I work with companies to say, let's simplify it. If the custodian cannot say it, it's too complicated. Okay. Now for me, for my leadership position and my team, what are my leaders 3? Is it the exact same as the organization? Probably not. It has to align and we have to marry it. Okay. So when I'm starting with, hey, I'm going to, this is where we are. I'm going to reveal, we're going to meet one-on-ones. I need it to be clear for everyone walking out of that office or that remote call what the leaders 3 is. Because when we go to have a celebration for success, well, how do we know if we won if you didn't have the leaders 3?
That's
okay.
How'd you come up with 3?
If you don't have the leaders 3.
So 3 is very specific. That's a small number of tasks, initiatives around a vision. How did you come up with the number 3?
Because I believe in simple. There could be some great plans. When they're so complicated and you have too much to focus on, you're not focusing on anything. So I found that the vision, and people will keep telling you about the vision and the mission as if that's the most important. And it's a great start. It's a horrible place to stop. You have your vision, but what are the 3 to 5 things that you're going to do? My son has a vision of playing in the NFL. Okay, great. You and how many?
Yeah.
What are the 3 to 5 things you need to do on a consistent basis to make it happen and separate you from everyone else? That's how you evolve. And then what are the expectations? What are the expectations you have for yourself or your team or whatever? And the expectations could be simple. Mine is to leave companies, organizations, people, the stranger I meet on the street, better than when I met them.
That's not bad.
When you mention expectations, like for me, that's how I like to be led. Tell me your expectations of me. Give me some room for growth and creativity, but I need to know exactly what you expect.
Right.
And I'm gonna thrive in that environment. And I know a lot of people are similar. They, because they don't know where they stand. They don't know where what you expect of them, and now they don't know if they're doing well, they're doing poorly, and then you lose people because of that.
Well, here's an expectation that I wish more organizations would institute, and it's an expectation of positivity. And you can define for yourself what positive means, but there's a positive approach. I call head up, eyes up, smiling. There's a hotel. I'm going to give a shout out to the DoubleTree in downtown Reading, Pennsylvania.
All right, there we go.
It wins awards for being one of the best. Amy, it wins awards for being one of the best hotels ever, because when you walk in, their people have expectations that if you're in eye distance, if they can see you, they greet you. If you're in a certain amount of distance, they must say something to you, but you feel the warmth. Now, I don't think anyone that comes in as a customer or a guest knows that those rules are in place. However, I've been there so many times and everybody does it. It must be an expectation for them, because they all do it. And it is the best place to walk through, sit at, eat at, stay at, and they keep winning the awards. It's not an accident. It's not an accident. And then in the rules you got to have, and I don't believe that, it doesn't need to be a lot of rules. You have to have some that everybody, you can either congratulate them for following, or allows us to now have a tough conversation when they're not.
And that's hard too. I had a question for you. When I was reading one of your posts, I think you actually just did one of the classes, maybe with a company this week. It was about how to go back to normal, and you said you were pushed back about it. See, I know you were like, how dare you? Kind of like you weren't mad, but like when you would, why would you say that as leaders? Because then you're going to struggle. That's where I was confused when you said.
Well, it was an organization I've worked with a while back, and there was one of the leaders had mentioned, how do we get back to normal? It's a perfectly innocent question, and I feel like a lot of people would say that, whether they're a leader at an organization or a leader of their own life, or you're sitting at home. Hey, how do we get back to this thing we used to do? And if anyone would say that to me, it's not specific about that leader. My thing is, well, are you sure that's what you want? Because too many times, whether it's professionally or personally, we romanticize the past. We can remember all of the things that we liked about it, or maybe we were comfortable then, and we only look at the good things. Now, there are some good things about the past, professionally and personally. To think that we can recreate it is the struggle, and that's the problem. So and look, I love my wife. I love how we were when we met. There's things I like to go back to. However, if I need it to be exactly the way that it was, and I need to recreate that in order to be happy and satisfied, I'm setting myself up and her and our relationship for failure. Things have changed. People have changed. Thoughts have changed. Situations have changed professionally, personally, all of these things. So my formula for that is, okay, there were some great things about the past pre-COVID. Is there, or does it make sense that we can recreate some of that? What exactly do we want to bring with us to our present and to the future? Is it reasonable, doable, and fair for what the situation has become? How our customers and clients even want our product now, and the way our staff are working? If so, great. If not, we got to scrap it.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Right there is when you said about bringing it back, what did you enjoy? What would you say to somebody? Because not that I'm going negative, I'm not doing that, but when some people want to go back, like they won't let that go, right? I mean, sometimes it's okay to say something in a group, and that's where we've talked about before is, do you speak up in a group of people and say, listen, well, maybe we don't want to go back to that. Yeah. That's what I got out of that's what you said.
Well, the first thing I would do is validate. I think it's so important that when our people express something like that, we validate that, because they're saying it from a place of frustration, hurt, nostalgic. So let's pay homage to that. Wow, I know that this has really been tough for you and a lot of people. And I think a lot of people would love to go back and wish that this whole thing had never happened. However, it did. And it's allowed that we don't want to miss out as an organization and as a team for the things that we can learn and evolve, making us better for the future. So let's look at, what did you like about the way things used to be? What is it that stood out? They may say something that blows your doors off that you didn't even think they meant and is actually reasonable, doable, and fair to continue.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but hear them. Let's see what they got. Okay. So now, what are we enjoying about the present? What do you like about the change right now? Because I've loved the fact that I could do so many Zoom calls and meet with different people and do these different things all around the country.
Say that.
Not only do I enjoy it, but the world now knows how to do it, and it's something that's just easy for everyone. I miss traveling. I can't wait to be live more. I love the traveling part of what I get to do. So, and then, well, what do we want the future to look like? So what is it that we want to look, our future organizationally or as a team to look like? What are the goals? So now we're taking the best from the past, the best from the present, scrapping the things that weren't working or no longer fits the mode, making us great. And now we can build for the future. So that's what I want. And that's what I want you as listeners. Have a conversation with your people about it. Ask the questions. It's worth the conversation. And then we're building.
It's a really good point. In our industry that Dave and I work in, we're creatures of habit, right? We've been in this mold for a long time, and I learned this from a book from Dr. Joe Dispenza. We're in the present. We are living in the future. We have 70 to 90,000 thoughts per day, and roughly 80% of those thoughts are the same thoughts we had the day before, and the same thoughts we had the day before that, and so. We're creatures of habit. It's wired in our brain, and it's hard to change. And when this COVID pandemic hit our industry, a lot of companies they did not know where to go. Right. They wanted to stick with the original model, and it's not working. And so I took a page from your book, Andre, even though I haven't read it yet. But something that really rang true to me is I took this problem to my team. Look, here's the facts, and we cannot do things the same. Like, just throw everything out right now. We're going to start a brand new page, new book. Let's figure out how to do this. And sure enough, my team, they're boots on the ground. They know what's working. They know what's not working. And we developed a new strategy, go-to-market strategy that worked. And we made iterations after iteration through the last 6 months. Right. Still not perfect, but wow, it's amazing how quickly things turned around in our market, specifically for us, when others were closing their doors just completely.
Right. I love what you said. And the last part of what you said was the best. You let it evolve. Yeah. You come up with the plan, because when I had my staff and, I said, listen, this is what we have to do for me to continue to have you as my staff and you can get paid. This is what we need to do. Now I want to know what you love about it and what would you fine tune about it, and let's come up with something. But whatever we come up with, allow it to evolve.
Yes.
I say marry your dream, but not the path, and you'll be just fine in anything you choose to do.
Yeah,
if you had to
absolutely.
Say, Andre, if you had to place something on during this time right now when you're getting called by companies, what do you find happening more so when they call and ask you if you have your advice, your problems that they're having in a company? What do you see most? I should say it like that. What do you see?
Typically, our leaders don't know how to lead. And I say, well, why the heck would they? They didn't go to leadership school. Again, they did one thing really well. They were promoted, and they're acting as managers. And we all, when we first get promoted, act as managers until we know how to lead. And Stephen, you mentioned something great. We all have to be able to manage. That's a part of leadership. But, so many people get stuck right there. So that's one of the big ones. Our leaders don't know how to lead. And then even when it's not COVID, we're going through so much change
Right.
Okay. So we're going through so much change, or we're so busy. So those are the big three. And my response typically, is I don't know a company that ever plans on being less busy. There's always something.
On that.
So people are too busy to change, is what you're saying.
Too busy to evolve, right? Because change is coming and is always going to be there. Your leaders don't know how to lead. So what's in the way, really, of bringing me in now? Like, do you have a time frame? My question always is for organizations, what do you want to get out of bringing someone like me in? And then you shut up and listen. You shut up and listen and say, okay, great. Either I have this or I can develop it, or that's not in my wheelhouse and what I do, and let me point you in the right direction. One of those three things. What's the time frame? Okay, and it always comes down to timing and budget. When you get more and more resistance, what do you believe would need to happen, for you to bring me in? Or because I'm sensing the hesitation, and it's really a conversation. I don't want to fight or pester anyone to bring in my services. Sometimes we just have to say, and that's me included, you got to say things out loud to hear ourselves and figure out where we're going, what you want to be there, and let's create a win-win. Because I have big packages that we can do. I have small.
Right.
When an organization reaches out, we did it for a reason. Let's do something, and then we know what more we need to do.
Well, what I like that when you said is because I feel like I'm saying I'm from both sides here, because something else that I like what you said in the book is when you make your employees feel safe and draw people into a circle of trust. It's kind of like the leaders, because I've been in a leader spot, but I've also been in before I was a leader. So are you saying there, like, that's what you want as a leader? You want to make them trust, if you know what I'm saying there, like, how do you make them trust you?
Personal leadership. My session 1 of my Evolve and Lead training program is all about personal leadership. For us as a leader, for you as a leader, as a listener, how we choose to show up every day to our work, to our relationships, and our lives speaks volumes. So are you walking in or zooming in, head up, eyes up, positive, making eye contact, smiling, doing your best, knowing your craft, managing, as you had mentioned, Stephen, and then being your best as a person and choosing to speak their language? And when I do my Leader 7, how to speak their language in casual times, making enough deposits in the bank so when you have to have the hard conversation, it's all right. Okay? So doing that on a consistent basis, but also protecting your time and protecting your leadership. There's going to be negative Nicks and Nancys and Grouches all over the place to challenge your leadership. So being willing to maintain the high standards and expectations by having those tough conversations, because the inspired and motivated on your team are watching. And when you don't have it, when they know it's supposed to happen, eventually they're going to burn out and become less productive or leave. And then the Grouches are also watching. Everybody's watching.
They're wondering why you're smiling so much. Like, Andre, what's wrong with you? Why are you smiling so much?
I know. We had the shark, Richard. He's right. Success starts within. Rich, and there's the man. There's a shark, and
that guy is a motivator right there, Richard Rosner, man.
We're gonna have Rich.
He will keep you perked up all day.
And Joel again, what's up, David? Good to see you alive. Oh, all right, so I fell off the cliff, Joel, but I'm doing a lot better now. Like I'm getting there. It's going good.
Dave, do you mind if I ask a quick question?
Yo, go ahead. Nope, go.
Andre, I'm a transplant to the staffing industry. Been in here coming up on 3 years in March, and one thing I've noticed. Just interacting with a lot of different agencies and people is there's a lot of negativity. A lot of people that are just maybe burnt out. If you think about it, you hire 100 people and then you lose 40 and then you need to hire another 40. And it's just nonstop cycle of attrition. And it's not very rewarding for many people because they don't feel accomplished, because as soon as they feel 20, there's another 20. And it just repeats like that. And so when you talk about coming in and having vision and inspiring people, and I've had a real struggle doing that in this industry, and I've had some personal successes and wins of my own, but I look at the industry as a whole and I go, how does Andre come in here and and turn this around, because it needs to be turned around?
For me, it's huge. One, when we talk about burnout, in my book, I talk about the difference between burnout and bored out. I don't think too many people are getting bored out these days, but the burnout part is, one, we got to maximize our whys. We got to remember why we're doing the job that we're doing. What do we enjoy about it? And do our best to make great connections with the great people in our job, in our workspace. Marry our why. What's your why? Why are you here? What are you doing? What you're doing? Or it might be time to move on. I tell people that's not always when you have found your why and say, okay, look, I don't like how things are. What's the positives of it here, and what am I enjoying? For some people, it may be that you get that check once every 2 weeks, because there's a lot of people out there that wish they had your check every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people who wish they had your job, your life, your wife, your husband, your kids, your home. So having that gratitude and finding what do I like about here? What do I like about what's happening right now? Who can I connect with that's positive and not going to bobblehead me to death and tell me how right I am to be miserable and what should be happening and all that? We can't become that, and then we can't surround ourselves around the gossipers and negative Nicks and Nancys. Okay, we got to be able to do that, and then we got to come in every day, like I mentioned, with that personal leadership, even on the days you don't enjoy it. And you're allowed to be human. You're allowed to have that sulky day or vent. But I talk about how to vent appropriately. We got to be able to vent appropriately when we're.
Can you talk more about that? Because that is missed so often on every level of any organization.
And it's something that I do it for the C-suite and middle management, but also so much for the front line, because they wind up killing their leadership and chances to be promoted because they could be right in every single thing that they've said. And I've been the world's worst employee. I was right about everything I said. However, it was going to be hard for me to move up because of how I said it, who I said it to, how often I said it, and then what it did to me in here and in here coming in every day. So the rules for venting appropriately, I call it a leader's vent. One, it needs to be people limited. Everyone that comes inside your 18 inches of personal space does not need to get your story.
That's
oh man.
As a employee, as a leader, first you only vent to people that can help you. So it's people limited. Who are the people within your organization, or if you want to get more personal, in your life, that you can vent to, that will, one, listen, validate, but also challenge you and kick you in the butt. If they're not ending that conversation with, okay, well, now what? Okay, I heard you. Now what? What are you going to do? What's the plan? And then hit you with that gratitude. Like so first it's got to be people limited. Then it's got to be time limited. Some people, I used to watch employees come in and vent about whether it's their relationship, whether it's their job, their boss, whatever the new project is, vent all day. Yeah. And here's a fact. Here's the truth. I was a mental health therapist for 19 years. And this is the truest thing that I can tell you. We cannot go out and talk poorly about your job all day long, your relationship all day long, your life all day long, and then go skip to any of it and love it. You multiply that by days, weeks, months, decades. What did you think your professional life was going to look like? Personal life going to look like? Your relationship is going to look like?
Your health.
Your health. So it's time limited. Get it out to the right people that can help you, challenge you. And then it's so people limited, time limited, and purposeful. What the heck do you want to get out of it? You're complaining about it. What do you want to get out of the vent? If it's simply to vent, that's not good enough. That's not helpful for anyone. So I'm really venting because I really want that raise. I really want that promotion. I want my ideas heard. I want to feel protected by my people. Whatever it is, let's get to the core of why you're venting. And we got to plan on what to do about it. This is life-changing professionally and personally when we decide to do that. And sometimes it's merely catching ourselves in here because we might not even be saying it, but you're thinking it all day long.
I have to get your feedback on this really quick. Sorry, Dave. I'll take you back later, Andre. I got to take advantage of your expertise here. In my past, I because my time was so sensitive, for good or bad, I communicated this to my team. You have 6 minutes with me. Get it out, 6 minutes. And if we need to discuss further, we'll schedule another meeting. And I did this for several years. I've stopped that practice. I don't have that rule anymore. And I find my time being completely sucked away, hours of time of productivity. Although there's many times that it feels like that was a good conversation and we had breakthrough. But regardless, I left that 6 minute timer. I got rid of that. And I remember how productive it was. But I feel like I lost maybe the human side, the touch. And is there a balance? Where did I go wrong? Where did I go right with that concept?
One, I kind of did like the idea of the time, not so much the physical timer, because that can feel like restricting the people. I like the idea of naming it though. All right, here's our 6 minutes of torture. All right, so what you got? Let's hit it with it. So hit me with the 6 minutes. What do you have? Setting the expectation of, okay, now what?
Yeah.
So I'm big on when I teach my my Leader 7. One of the things in having the tough conversation is, okay, I hear what you're saying. Can you help me to understand what's going on with that? I'm always asking for their thought on the issue, their thought on how to help the issue. And again, our people, we hired them. I hope they're good, right? Okay.
Yeah.
They might give you an answer. I hope so, right?
Yeah.
You might hear an answer when you hear, okay, I hear what you're saying, and you can name it 6 minutes of torture. Okay, now what? How is it? Why do you think that's happening? What do you think you can do about it to make this better here? Because if you went somewhere else, you're going to have an issue maybe very similar to that somewhere else. Can't keep bouncing from place to place, expecting things to be different. How would you? What do you think you can do about it?
I love that.
Personal
ownership.
Right. And we got to, as leaders, we're so used to fixing. We're so used to having the answer. We're very uncomfortable with silence. We got to shut up and listen.
Boy, that sounds so familiar in my life. Everybody says that. They shut up and listen. It does, I swear. But it takes a while to come from here. But eventually, but that's what I've learned is I stop and I breathe. Because sometimes then I just start thinking too far ahead. So I'll sit back and then I'll be like, maybe you're right. Okay, I'll suck it up. You're right. But I'll tell that to the employee too. You were right. I apologize. And that really goes a long way too.
Oh, I call that a leader's apology. When someone in authority apologizes to you and they don't have to, given their title, given their power.
Yep.
It's amazing so many employees may have never had their parents apologize to them.
Right.
The teacher apologized to them, their professor, a police officer, anything. When you give that, hey, I'm sorry about that. You were right. I was wrong on that. I'm going to do my best to make sure that doesn't happen again. This is where I was coming from on that. I appreciate us being able to work through this and move forward. Oh, my goodness. It's so amazing what people will do more for you and forgive about you when that can happen.
I learned that concept in the workplace. Being married, I did not do that at home. And when I started to see that this apology works as a leader, and it's hard to do, but it gets easier. Like then be able to take that at home and apologize. Man, my life became so much better.
Oh man, it's amazing because people recognize that you don't have to, and what leaders do is build other leaders. When you give that apology to them, and typically we promote from within anyway.
Yep.
Right.
You've set an expectation that that's something that leaders do. They will pass it forward. You may never see it. We may never see it, but it was done. And that's one of the ways that we can be of impact and influence when I explain my definition of leadership to our people. And we may not think it was anything big, but it can hurt to apologize.
It can hurt.
Well, you're creating a whole generation of leaders that way. Just generation after generation in that organization. That's incredible.
Oh, especially in a generation now where you can ghost someone. You don't have to say sorry. You don't have to say we're breaking up. You don't have to have that hard conversation. It's setting a whole different expectation and standard that a generation coming up right now
That's
Doesn't really even have to do all the time.
Mm-mm.
Rarely.
not much at all. I wanted to show everybody. There it is. December 8th. And you can actually get it out on Kindle now, right, Andre?
It is. It's available on Kindle right now. So you can go to Barnes & Noble, Amazon. You can go to my website, youevolvingnow.com, and get it from there. It's all there. You can get it on Kindle right now. But the hard copy book
Right.
is December 8th. But you can pre-order it. So I'm looking forward to
I already got my pre-order.
take a picture and send it to me. It'd be great. I love to feature people.
No, because I told you it's going to your house because I get your signature, and then you're going to I get it back from there. But I want to take this time to give you, and we'll wrap it up. Is you influenced myself from when I started to watch yourself, because when you put that music on and you start going, like when I first learned, you put that music on, you start talking from the heart. You're not talking from a script. And that's why I asked you a couple of times. I said, are you saying that scripted or non-scripted?
Non-scripted, always non-scripted.
I can't thank you enough for coming on twice. I mean, because I know the third is with the book. So, but I want to give you this time to talk about yourself, what you feel, and what the audience, because you are in a lot of places this time.
Wow. Wow. Well, hello, everyone. My whole everything is leadership and work-life harmony. And I am honored. Like I mentioned before, I want to be able to go into organizations, whether it's online, virtual, or with my pre-recorded training that I think is pretty good. Pat myself on the back because I've been an employee, and you have to sit through those onboarding trainings, and I'm like, oh my goodness, if I had to sit through another boring one of those for 8 hours at a stretch, I wanted to blow my brains out. So there's some operational things and corporate things we all need to learn. But I believe my philosophy is this: I want to book in an organization. If so many companies say, oh, well, can you do our middle management? I'm like, oh, yeah, but we can't have our middle management being better than our C-suite. That's a problem. Or can you do our C-suite, our middle management, and our emerging leaders? And I said, well, yeah. However, you're going to promote from within mostly anyway. And to exclude a lot of your frontline employees because they're not what your definition of emerging is, maybe they can be when they get proper leadership and work-life harmony training. They all can be emerging when they're giving that. And my difficulty with so many of the trainings, you go to the best training in the world. Let's say they send you to the best place in the world's beautiful tropical island. You're getting the best leadership training. I don't believe in one-offs. What happens is you send your leaders, your emerging people to this great training. They only retain about 30% from that one-off anyway.
Done.
Most people are scared to even be out of the office that long for a day because they fear what they have to come back to, their emails piling up, and ... fires to put out. So by the time they get back, it slaps out another 15%. And then they're expected to pull the organization along, their team along with the 15% that they have left that no one knows that they got. Mm-hmm. No accountability, no consistency, but they went to a nice and entertaining training. I wanted to create something different. So different things, but hey, I got a cohort for C-suite and middle management. Have to go through it first. Mm-hmm. Then we have a cohort for the employees. And in the employees, they may not need everything that the leaders got. And I switched some things up because, one, a leader's butt kicking. Do our people know how to take a butt kicking? When it's time for you to have the tough conversation, do our people know how to take it? Mm-hmm. I'm going to teach the employees the get great question. I want them coming back and say, hey, Stephen, I want to be the greatest employee here at this organization ever. What is it that I need to do? So I teach how to ask the question. I teach how to share an idea. But when I first started doing this, I realized I didn't train the leaders on how to answer the question. So the leaders were saying things like, oh, Stephen, that's awesome. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Where's my clear path?
Worst answer you can give. So I teach that. I teach how to vent. So teach the leader 7. It's not only the leaders speaking their people's top two languages casually and in tough conversations? Do you know what happens to an organization? Because leaders are people too. When the employees know their leaders' languages and choose to speak it in casual times. There's VPs and CEOs of organizations that are recognition and affirmation, but don't get it from anybody. And if an employee comes up and would say, hey, thank you so much for that, I appreciate what you're doing, some of these leaders will pass out of a heart attack.
You speak truth there. If you know your leader's love language, you're going places. You're going to get what you need.
You're going places, and I'm glad you mentioned that because people have asked me, is this like Gary Chapman's 5 love languages? And I feel like I've written a book called 7 Ways to Love. I wish that I had written the 5 love languages. I feel like it's the Bible of love. Cannot be competed with. It's the greatest. I teach how to do the love on a daily basis through the 7 ways. My point is the languages are different. In the love languages, they have the physical touch. I'm like, look, I don't need my boss to be rubbing my back. And I don't think my wife would like that very much. So there's certain languages from the love languages that are just not appropriate.
Right.
And there's the 7 languages professionally with the Leader 7 that I get to speak about nationally. So I have my Evolve and Lead program, but then I do speaking engagements. I do 3-hour trainings on these things because once you lead with people's language, Stephen, you're right. You are always leading with their motivation. Yeah. It sounds a whole lot different if I say, hey, Dave, you mentioned your language was knowledge and advancement. Let me show you how to do this. So when I'm not here, you know what to do.
That's
Instead of me saying, hey, David, look, I need you to get this done. Can you have it done by 2:00?
no.
Well, it's both of them may be true, but they sound very different.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the things I do, and I'm honored to get to do, whether it's speaking engagements, the Evolve and Lead training program, virtual, online, or recorded. And it's just been a whirlwind of fun and positivity being able to help.
No, and I want to thank you because I can tell you, well, we were at 50 minutes, 47 minutes. Look at that. 2 shows, 47 minutes. And I can't thank you again because I sit here. I think it's because I've been there. I know what it feels like, but then I'm thinking what it feels like to be on the opposite side. Whenever I talk to you, I find myself on both. I'm like,
and that's as leaders when we can do that and have that empathy. And I tell people all the time, what I teach is not soft leadership. I don't mean we need to be soft. There is power in being empathic. I don't think you need to have that tough conversation 7 times about the same problem and then there's no consequence. Like that would be ridiculous. That's not leadership either, So,
but
yeah, being on both sides, definitely.
Everybody. But on that note, I got to show it one more time. I'm sorry. There it is, December 8th, and please, pre-order, or Barnes and Nobles too. So,
and I like to say, on the ticker tape down below.
Yes.
You have my information. Follow me on LinkedIn. I would love for all of you guys listening. I love being able to meet leaders like yourself. Love to find out more about your role, your concerns or challenges, how I can help. And at the least, it's a great half-hour to 40-minute conversation. And maybe we do something, maybe we don't. But I love to be able to connect with you. Please, let's reach out. Let's connect. Let's get a Zoom call in our new virtual world and get eyeball to eyeball and make an impact.
No. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Steve, thanks for filling in, Raquel. I appreciate it. And he's all in Utah. So Utah, I don't know what they have there, but I know I think
good water.
Pigs.
No pigs.
They have Hamilton, right? I think Hamilton, you have a lot of pigs in Utah, right?
Yeah, we got pigs. But Andre, I want to say for those that are watching this, when someone's passionate, they're leading from their heart. You speak very well. You have just incredible working knowledge, but that passion that I can hear and feel every time you speak, I think that is a defining factor for a lot of good leaders out there. When I look at leaders I want to work for, I need that passion. I need to see it. I need to hear it. I need to feel it. And you have it. So thank you for sharing your passion today.
Yes. Thank you so much. And
you're right.
It's been great meeting you. Thank you.
Yes. And we will talk to everybody soon. Thank you. And we're going to end it. Here we go.